So one of my top things about this puppet bad boy, Triumph Street Triple 675R from 2013, which was the first year with the updated look with the low slung exhaust, which is definitely one of my favorite things. Made by Aero, which was in partnership, I believe, with Triumph. Feel free to back me up on that. And it just sounds impeccable, and it keeps you within all of the EU and UK regulations for noise with the appropriate decibels. It keeps you in compliance with all of the relevant emissions going on, so you don't have to worry about ULEZ charges roaming around London, which is nice. And overall, it's just a great piece of kit that makes the bike in terms of its design. What's another one of my favorite things? The sound. That intake howl. When you absolutely pin it, or when you're just cruising around town, it just gives you this super deep howl. I'll see if I can give you a little demonstration up here. Oh yeah. So you couple that with your exhaust note, and you got a 9 out of 10 sound system. Which is great, because I don't even have any music playing. Let's get one more for the intake howl. It's normally in the mid-revs, not so much the top end. You ready? Oh yeah. Another thing I like, I might be a bit biased because I own it, but it's a lot more comfortable than my 390 Duke. Now, I've only ever owned 2 motorcycles, but I've ridden about 10. It is not the most comfortable motorcycle I've ever ridden, but it is the most comfortable motorcycle I've ever owned. Saying that, there are definitely some seat upgrades I want to make. This thing is a bit of a crush in the man bits. Yes, I said man. That's what I am. I don't care if it's 2020 and every it, them, Apache attack helicopter or otherwise is going to tell me I'm wrong. Nonetheless, we're not going to get into that debate. What's another thing I love? This specific bike came with a lot of very tasteful aftermarket bits and pieces. So you got the brake reservoir cover here, which is a nice billet aluminum piece, do not go, both front and rear, and it just looks really nice. I have the Triumph frame sliders. Those are the official ones, and they really do look good. I have the official Triumph front sliders, really nice. I have an official Triumph rear tail tidy, along with the LED indicators, which, according to my editor-in-chief, you can see from a mile away, which is really great for safety. Another thing I seem to like, this is the only bike I have really wrenched on, and it's relatively easy to work on. All of the bits and pieces is laid out well. I got access to the shop manuals. All the tools are pretty universal. There's not that many special ones you need to buy, unless you're doing major engine work, which I hope I don't have to, but I will if I need to. And otherwise, just the ease of working on it. I guess that might be all motorcycles, because they're a lot easier than cars. There's a lot less going on. There's only 2 tires instead of 4, and everything is more exposed. Which is also interesting when you have to work on them, is your mechanics have to have a cosmetic paradigm added to them, where you see this giant headstock bolt. If you muck it up and scratch it, it's going to look terrible. Same thing with these ones, and they are mucked up. So you don't want to do that. So I'll tell you another thing I like about this bike is the handling. When I first got it, the suspension was set up far too hard, definitely for the track. I have since softened everything up to pretty much the maximum level. Of course, the suspension, the forks, and the rear shock need servicing. They probably need fresh oil. Once they age, it gets a bit thicker and more viscous and cannot flow easy enough. So you cannot make it as comfortable as you want. So nonetheless, since I've adjusted it, I've made it a lot more comfortable. It's a lot more balanced between the front and rear, because I was getting bucked off the back before, and it feels like you're on a track, like a railroad track, not a racetrack, when you corner, which is really confidence inspiring, because the 390 Duke didn't make me feel like that. It was also a very light bike, and so the handling on that one was a bit more difficult. I love the handling. I cannot wait to rebuild the suspension. I will see if I can do that, if I have the skills and the know-how. If not, you send them off, you take them off and you send them in for servicing and you get them back maybe a week later. That's the problem I have, is I always need my bike and I can't necessarily leave it behind for someone else to take care of, which is an issue. Nonetheless, so suspension is great. The looks is the next best thing. This bike is stunning. Its side profile reminds me of that of a luscious lady, dressed all in white and red and hints of black. It's just stunning. And it reminds me of a very specific lady from my life, but I will not mention names, but let's just say she was in the TV business. And she looked fine as wine. And I'm sorry for saying that, that's a really weird thing. But it's no less true and correct. I mean, every single curve of this bike, you can match to the curve on a woman. They say you buy the wrong car and you buy the wrong bike. When you get home, you park it, you walk away, and you don't look back. Now, I have to say, this is definitely a bike that I always look back. So make sure you get yourself something like that. It doesn't have to be a fast car, it doesn't have to be an expensive car. It just has to be something that you like. Bike, cars, whatever. It's all amazing. I know that we're cageless over here, but I do have to say cars are another one of my passions. And if I didn't have a bike, I'd have probably an Aston Martin. An Aston Martin if I could. By the way, their stock is way down, 18 pounds to 38 pence as of last week. So you might want to get in on that. That's up to you. That's how I like to view the world. Another thing I loved that I hated about the 390 Duke was I couldn't really take it on a highway, and I couldn't maintain it at speed, because when you're doing a nice leisurely 60, 70 miles an hour, that bike would feel, well, it would suck, I'll be honest. You're right up at the top of the rev range, it's buzzing, it's very, very vibrating, very uncomfortable, the seat's hard, didn't like that. This bike, my absolute favorite thing is how it rides at speed.